Welcome to Sleepover with Yuri Season 3. If you've ever been categorized as a minority, whether for being an immigrant or LGBTQ or a person of color, well, guess what? You are in the majority on my show. A Sleepover with Yuri is a show that celebrates diversity, promotes equality, raises awareness, and spreads love. In Season 2, I talked a lot about mental health and our spiritual body. Most religions and beliefs recognize two bodies, physical and spiritual, also known as soul. We are very well aware of our physical body, but not so much of our spiritual body, and there is still a lot of stigma in talking about one's soul. Spirituality involves the recognition of a feeling or a sense or belief that there is something greater than myself, something more to being human. In Season 3, I will be talking with my guests about their spiritual experiences, as I believe that spiritual awakening may be a solution to our emotional problems and a key to happiness. My guest tonight had a spiritual awakening of his own and became a Reiki master of spiritual energy healing. Please help me welcome Amiliyo. Thank you so much for coming. I was looking forward to this sleepover. I never met a Reiki in my life. I heard about Reiki, but I don't think I ever understood or knew about this. So, but before anything, just tell me about yourself. I know you had an interesting story of how that took you to this Reiki experience.
Yeah, so my pleasure to be here. I'm excited, thrilled, to go on camera and speak about this unique story. Also, that is very part of the whole community because spiritual awakening, I believe, is the most beautiful thing a human being can go through. In my experience, it came with Reiki 7 years ago. And I'm excited, to come here and share with you, everything.
Yeah, well, I can't wait. But before you became Reiki, so what was your life like?
Good question. Being in New York City, gay man, my life was very go-do, be an overachiever, executive in finance, high-end brands, luxury brands, jumping into planes, traveling 200,000 miles a year. My life was very successful. It is very successful from what it looked to be on front, but deep inside was like the big boy, in me, never satisfied, always looking for the next movement, for the next jump in salary. And it becomes very addictive, it becomes very addicted to it. And definitely, it's not what I really was seeing my life to be until, there was a time that I said, enough, it's enough. And this is where, my Reiki journey started.
So basically you're saying that before your Reiki journey, you were successful and you were doing pretty well for yourself, but you were never satisfied? Were you happy as a person?
I think I was happy on my own terms. I was happy to lead a team of many people, designers and merchandisers and sales. I was very happy about that. But traveling around the world, like going to factories and, creating business plans, achieving the number. But once I would go home, I would break into tears.
Why?
Because deep inside of me, I knew there was a huge gap on that. And literally, that was an inner child suffering, I didn't know all of that at that time. Of course, I would go into dates and meet the handsome guys, but never connected with one, never did. And until a point that someone really on my face said, you really need to look into more what has happened in your life. And this is what, it coupled me to start psychological therapy, start understanding that when I was a child, watching violence at home, it was one of the deepest, traumas that I had as a child. Watching the news, my father was murdered when I was 14, that was very traumatic. And I was numbing all of that with success, I went to a military academy, the U.S. Air Force, and numbing that part, went and got my grad studies in finance and numb that with that, then start using alcohol, substances, and numb all of that. But I never connected within myself, on all of that.
I mean, let me ask you, it's interesting because the previous episode that I filmed, the guests were sharing similar stories, how they were using either alcohol or drugs, or in your story, it's using success and overachieving money as a coping mechanism and to numb the pain that you had. So when you said your life looked great in terms of great jobs and finance, but you would come home and cry, what exactly was going through your head? Were you thinking about something, or it was just pain you were not necessarily aware of that caused the tears?
Through my, I would say 10 years of psychotherapy and Reiki healing therapies, I have understood now we need to add language, right, to the stories. Other than that, we block those feelings. And as we're talking, we're blocking all of those feelings, and we don't know what to do. We just overreact. I understood now that there's a limbic part in our brain, the amygdala. It is the one that really put us into a fight-flight plan. We overreact to everything. And when we numb this part of the brain, we really go into a mechanism of only seeing what we have trying to see, not living in the present moment. So for me, during that time, I wasn't able to see more of the beauty of what was happening around. I was just like focusing on delivering, overachieving, but blocking all those feelings. So when I start understanding this inner child's suffering is when all those, tears will be now understood by, what was happening. I never had the chance to process all that trauma. And through my therapies, I started therapy in Reiki. It was quite interesting. I was very sad. I remember I was at the dentist's office. I was laying down, and the only thing that I keep hearing was like, Reiki, Reiki, Reiki. And
so before you heard the word Reiki in your head, did you know anything about Reiki?
Never. I was like completely lost on the awareness of what is it to be a spiritual.
So would you say that emotionally you hit your rock bottom where nothing would satisfy you and you would just feel that pain and cry at home, and then when that happened, that's when you heard the word Reiki, which I'm assuming was the beginning of the spiritual awakening for you?
Yes, yes. So that was the point. There were months that I was just like work longest hours, delivering the numbers. And in my whole career, I'm known to deliver, a result, to really revamp a company. But I was not an expert in my inner self, in happiness. Yeah.
So what exactly is Reiki?
Yeah, Reiki is universal healing energy. It is everywhere. You carry Reiki. Reiki's energy, it comes from Japan. Dr. Mikao Sui, who is the one who discovered it, in May will be 100 years now. That has been, and it's being taught over and over through masters. And I am on the 6 master teachers that has been inducted to me. You learn it through a master giving you an attunement, and you literally, it's a hands-on to a body, and the practitioner, myself, will channel this energy. It's a conduit, it's not your own energy. You channel through it, and your body starts regenerating, all your cells. And the most beautiful part of it is that you start seeing life as it is, in the present moment, not carrying, what I was talking about, the amygdala that carries everything, and the limbic system in your brain that keeps carrying all your past experiences.
So is Reiki, you mentioned that it's a healing energy that heals, but is that a healing energy for inner body, for an emotional body, or it can heal physical diseases as well, like cancer?
Well, it doesn't heal cancer, but it aids into the body to relax. The body, is the most intelligent mechanism, vessel that we know. It heals itself. When there's distress, the body is when it starts getting, sick, dis-ease. And what Reiki does is that puts the body at ease. It relaxes the body. So when the body is relaxed, the body itself can start healing itself. And then, of course, coupled with the Western medicine, the body has a better potential of healing. In my experience, I have participated in the American Cancer Society, and with a group of practitioners, we have helped, about 60 people, in 2 weeks to relax, and they have seen huge, tremendous improvements in their healing in cancer.
So you heard the word Reiki in your head without even knowing what it was.
Yeah.
How did you react to that word? What would you do after you heard that?
Well, I was pretty freaked out,
And it's the first time, I'm assuming, in your life you heard the voice in your head.
Yes, I was pretty freaked out. I'm going cuckoo, I'm going crazy. What's going on? But
Did it sound like an actual voice?
Yes, it
was
did.
Was it a male or female voice?
It was a whisper, you know. It was a whisper. It was like Reiki, 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 and I'm like, what, And for me, I knew I was already looking for answers.
So you were open to it. You were open to spiritual awakening.
I think that I had enough, And I think that our spiritual awakening, it happens when I had enough. I had enough. I knew that I would commit suicide. I knew I would check out of this life. I knew that deep in my heart. I really was tired. I wasn't happy. And for me, I just go at nights and said, dear God, send me a sign. I was watching the other day, Eat, Pray, Love, when Julia Roberts, goes and kneels down and said, God, send me a sign, send me a sign. I remember, I was in that moment, sent me a sign, and I was asking for that sign. I feel blessed, that it happened. And I'm very excited too, nowadays, becoming a teacher. I have decided to take this journey because, my journey in healing is not over. I'm still healing. I still get triggered. I'm a human being, which is a beautiful experience to be on. I still get triggered, but there's a huge awareness that comes out of it, huge one, where you say, this is what happened to me, but this is not me. This is not me. And when you start working on in this journey of healing, self-love shows up, self-compassion shows up, self-kindness shows up. And from there, you can give to others.
So, Amiliyo, so when you heard the word Reiki, what exactly, again, so what that was the beginning of your spiritual journey, spiritual awakening. It came to you. What were your next steps? How did you become the Reiki master?
Wow, I never thought I was going to be a Reiki master. For that time, 7 years ago, we said, what the hell, what my peers will be thinking about me. He went crazy. Some of them, I just saw them and said, oh, you became a hippie. And so I knew, I went on Google for myself what was Reiki, and I found a New York City Reiki Center in Chelsea. And 6 months later in therapy, I was going twice a month. I was going for 2 hours. 6 months later, my face changed, completely. When I said it changed, I was more relaxed. I wasn't fighting with my family much. I wasn't fighting with myself. I was leading and managing the company from a different perspective. So this is where it started. And then, 6 months, I took level 1. I, kept asking. Now my teacher said, why should I take level 1? It's like, for you, for no one else. Because I Reiki myself every moment. I Reiki myself every time, This is why I think, you become your own healer, your own guru, your own teacher, So then I did level 2. I never thought I was going to continue growing into that. And level 2 really was a mind-blowing. Reiki energy really starts to materialize in your being, and this is where transformations happen. This is where really transformations has happened. Later on, I became a Reiki practitioner, more dedicated over the weekends, and 2 years ago, I accepted, to become a Reiki master, and a series of life-changing events had happened. And, here I am,
Let me ask you this. I have a bunch of questions for you because
Yeah.
it's very interesting what you're saying. So does anyone, can anyone just go to the Reiki center and become Reiki master or have a Reiki spiritual awakening? Or you have to get a sign like you do when you heard the word in your head?
Well, Reiki is available for anyone. I really encourage, everyone to really be more open into alternatives of healing. And then I think this is where for your own, you will start discovering what is needed. I do believe that not everyone is meant to be a teacher. That's really what a Reiki master is, to educate. Literally, that's the level of it.
Well, maybe not a teacher, but from what I'm hearing, Reiki energy is giving you the self-awareness and heals your childhood trauma. So my question is, if there are people out there, because I guess one of the reasons why I came up with the project,
Yeah.
Spiritual Awakening, if there are people out there who are mentally, emotionally struggling and don't feel happy and feel unsatisfied with their life and, go to drinking or using drugs or, other things to numb their pain and, as a coping mechanism, would you say that for them a solution could be just go to the Reiki studio and learn how to use their Reiki energy to heal themselves and find that spiritual awakening and feel better about themselves?
Definitely.
So that's as simple as it gets.
Yeah, definitely. It's a completely yes. I believe that our society will be a more peaceful one if all of us were taking care of ourselves.
And where are you guys located, the Reiki Center?
It's on Union Square on
Okay.
17th Street.
And it's
Yes.
open to anyone? You can
It's
just call
open to anyone. Like tomorrow, we're going to have 2 classes, 1 class for 2 days for level 1. And you can, there's more, after the pandemic, we have seen that there's more awareness. I think people went into their cocoons and not being able to be around other people or being, deeply interconnected in society, numbing, right, of the present of what's happening. And we're getting more students. It's quite interesting. I strongly believe that the more you take care of yourself, and your spirit, connecting to your spirit, the more peaceful you could be, not only for yourself, but to others, And I think this is where collectiveness, I think, is happening, This is what's happening. We're all awakening to something.
I mean, another thing that I just, you might not have an answer for it, but when you say you heard the voice, the whisper in your head saying Reiki, Reiki, which almost gave you a sign to go and look for Reiki Center, almost sounds like you were chosen by the Reiki energy. Do you have an idea why you had that voice in your head? And is it something that a common experience for people who practice Reiki?
Yes.
It's common?
It is common. Through our story in Reiki, Takata, one of the grandmasters that thought John, and John thought Brian, she constantly heard the voice of Reiki saying when she started her journey, she's the one who brought from Japan Reiki to Hawaii and from Hawaii to the States. I believe that in this, we are spiritual beings, right? I believe that we're always listening and feeling something, right? Not just, or sometimes we smell it, sometimes we taste it, we're tasting it, but there's something guiding us within us. You know, it's like our compass. And for me, I think I had enough, and I wanted an answer. And I think when we ask, it's being given to us. You know, we just have to ask, and it's going to be given. So if something happens if you listen, like for you right now, experiencing this story about Reiki, it's happening, you know, it's happening to you as well, or people out there. I was like Googling how many Reiki interviews have been out there, and I haven't seen none, you know, I haven't seen none. So for me, I think it's a door, it's an opportunity for many to explore, and it could be your journey. You know what I'm saying? It is the one, because Reiki is not a religion. You know, it could be a path. As you said, it could be meditation, could be yoga, could be the art of surfing, you know, or being in the ocean and swimming. But something that you do with your heart is when you start awakening to a bigger, you know, to a bigger truth. And this is what we call a spiritual awakening.
Amiliyo, when would you say for you was the moment when you felt like you had a spiritual awakening? Was that the words that you heard, or was it the day when you officially became the Reiki master? Was there a moment where you felt like, wow, I'm having a spiritual awakening?
I love that question. I really love that question, because I never thought that I was going to have one. And this happened just a few months ago. Just a few months ago, I always felt like unworthy of love, you know? I always felt like unworthy of being here, you know, in this planet. So the moment that I felt that I had a spiritual awakening was when I was being triggered, you know, for past trauma, being around my family, which I didn't see for 2 years. And I just came back from the ocean, you know, for a 2-year sabbatical. And I became a dive master, scuba diver, and I was so excited to see my family. And being around them really triggered me. Like, you know, I saw my mom, I saw everyone. And in that moment, I knew that I had the chance to go and numb, you know, and I knew I had a spiritual awakening, because I claimed my power, you know, I claimed that power back and said, you know, it's okay. You know, it's okay. It's okay to be around these loving beings. They love me, and what happened to me is not happening right now. You know, all of this is just a mechanism of what's in the brain right now, of like my fight plan mechanism is telling me, run, you know, it's going to happen to you again. But in reality, it wasn't happening. They were all loving. And I think this is the spiritual awakening. You're awakening to a bigger truth, you know, that it's not you in that moment, or what happened to you. It's you in the present moment, in which none of that is existent. It's only beautiful things happening, you know, in that present moment. But those triggers, of course, are there. You know, this is a beautiful vessel. This body is a beautiful vessel. I call it an ultra-sensorial one. It feels, tastes, and have everything. And yet, you know, it really lacks of all this intelligence, which only spirituality can give you, you know, where you are in that moment. So I think a few months is when this happened to me. And I was telling my teacher, you know, and he said, bravo. He said, you know, good. He said, it means that you're becoming a teacher now. I'm like, damn, you know, I was just like, but there's so much peace, you know, and when it comes to that, you're really awake to a bigger reality of what's really happening in the present moment, which is all happiness and joy.
So you kind of answered my question already. The next question I wanted to ask you was, for you personally, how would you describe what a spiritual awakening is? And from what I gathered, when you just told me spiritual awakening is being present, being aware, and feel love and joy of the presence that you are aware of in the moment, and not dwelling upon the past or future tripping. Would you add anything to that description, what a spiritual awakening is for you?
An awakening is to see that truth that is happening in the moment. And there's nothing to do more than just to live. Of course, it's just the beginning of. For me, it's just the beginning of to live a present life filled with peace. And you could be sitting in the middle of war and you're still in a collective way, in your inner cocoon, giving loving kindness, listening to the other person, listening to your family members, listening to your boyfriend. And you know that everything that is happening in that moment doesn't have nothing to do with you. They're going through their identities of what has happened or will happen, and none of that exists for you, But for them it does, because it's so attached to the mind. So in a spiritual awakening, I think it's just like in my journey, it's just the beginning of claiming the bigger power that exists, I'm very excited, to see what will happen. I'm starting a new, going back to corporate America. I decided to do that, and I believe that we need more people to talk about these experiences. You giving us the opportunity for that, because with that, you could really be happy within yourself on what's happening. So an awakening, I believe, is just the beginning of, it's not it. It's not it.
Amiliyo, on that note, I just want to thank you again so much for coming over tonight and having a sleepover with me and shedding light on what a Reiki master, Reiki spiritual healing energy is. And I'm sure a lot of people will learn from that and hopefully benefit from this. And now we have to go to bed because it's super late and time to sleep.
Yeah, it's time to go to sleep,
Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you for having me over. And, what I wish, I don't wish hurting to anyone, but I do wish the grace that comes when you experience hurting with an open heart. So thank you for having me over. And yeah, time to go to bed.
All right. Have a good night. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.